Just a couple of guys dropping nuggets of wisdom as we talk about life, the universe, and, well, everything. Welcome to WizNugs.
Welcome back to another episode of WizNugs. I'm Casey.
And I'm Cisco.
And today we'd like to talk to you about part 2 of our goal setting series. Today we're going to talk about focusing on what you can control.
Now, in the first episode, we talked about the SMART acronym to be able to define your goal and how to be able to measure it out and define it so that it's an attainable thing that you can do.
Yeah, and this time, talking about focus. So there's a guy, Stephen Covey. He's kind of an expert on personal organization.
Okay.
And one of the big takeaways that I got from looking into him a little bit was about focusing on what you can control by taking your tasks, your goals, taking your goals and making them tasks.
So like small, manageable kind of things?
Yeah, taking something, a goal like I want to learn piano.
Okay.
And taking that and breaking that down into daily steps that you can take. I'm going to practice the piano today. I'm going to play through this song 5 times. Or I'm going to work through these exercises 5 times every day.
So like me, when I gave the first example, being able to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or whatever it was with 1 finger, today I'm going to try to do it with 2 fingers, right? Progress.
Sure. Or if you're talking about like your goal is to write a novel, that you can write a sentence every day, minimum. Your goal might be I want to write 5 sentences a day.
Okay.
And by doing that, you make progress, and you can look back and measure your progress according to whatever your measurement is. If you're trying to lose weight, you can't will yourself into fat loss.
Right.
You can.
It would be great if we could, right?
We figured that out. You can control calories in and calories out. You can control your activity level. You can control what you eat, and that's about it. So by figuring out those things, whatever your method is, if you're going to cut carbs or if you're going to go to the gym and be a power lifter, or you want to do cardio and run laps all day, all these things are different methods that might work for different people.
Or like even if you just want to like cut things out of your regular intake, if it's soda or cake or cherry pie. My example.
Yeah, it's a good example. It's a good delicious dessert. So by focusing on what you can control, breaking it down into actionable steps, that can actually help you make progress.
And so not focused on the stuff you can't control, right? So what would it, like what's an example? Like say if it's weight loss, what's an example of something we can't control?
Well, you can't control where on your body you're going to lose fat.
That's true.
Your body's going to figure that out based on something that we don't quite understand.
Yeah, so don't be like, well, as soon as I start doing this, whatever your goal is, however you decide to break this down and do it, well, I see that my legs are getting skinnier, but my gut is still there.
But that's also part of focusing on what you can control.
Right.
And ignoring what you can't. Your actionable items are what's going to make you progress.
Okay, well that makes sense.
You might, if you step on the scale after a month of working your actionable items, counting calories, for example, is one that's worked for me in the past. And then you get to a month and you're not making as much progress as you thought. You expected to lose 1 pound a week because that's what you'd read was a good thing.
Okay.
You might have to reevaluate the amount of exercise you're doing or the amount of calories that you're eating. If you expect to write a novel and you want to have 5 chapters done by the time Christmas rolls around, then you should be able to measure out how many sentences on average should be in a chapter based on whatever genre you're writing. That information's out there. We do a little bit of research. We can figure out what is realistic. And that goes back to our SMART goal. And then we go and we break that down into steps that we can take.
Yeah. Okay. And then I think a good idea then, if you have this broken down and you start doing these steps, is having visual reminders of where you've gone so far. How far have you gotten along in this process, right? Having something that you can see in front of you, right? Whether it's on your bathroom door or refrigerator door or wherever, that you've gone and you've marked it and you've checked the box or you've written something down. If it's a notepad that you're writing your novel in, that you can go and like, let me see where I started a week ago, and now I have 10 pages. Isn't it awesome? I'm 10 pages into my novel. So having that visual reminder is a great way daily to remind you, like, you're on that path.
Yeah, I think of when my kids were little and they're potty training. Learning to use the toilet, it's a whole thing, right? It's a big step when you're little. And I know that for my kids, having a sticker chart on the wall was such a big deal. We put that sticker chart on the bathroom wall because that's where we're training them to use the toilet.
Right.
Hopefully
that's where you're training.
That's the spot.
It could happen in other places from personal experience, but let's hopefully it's in the bathroom.
So putting the stickers on and making that into a celebration, celebrating the successes that we've done based on what we can control.
Yeah.
If you're talking about writing sentences, they don't have to be great sentences. They don't even have to be cohesive necessarily. You can edit a bad book, but just to fabricate chapters out of nothing, that takes time.
Yeah, I mean, think about when you were back in school and you had to write an essay or something of that nature, right? You had your rough draft, right? And this is like, all of my ideas are here, I'm going to run them down, and this is very, 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 very good, right? I mean, we're all guilty of doing that. Like, it has to be this many words. Well, but then you have to go back. And then you have to do analysis on it. And like you said, go back and you edited it. And now something that was like, all right, now it's a little bit more like a finished product. So the whole editing a bad book, I mean, falls right in line with that.
And being willing to edit our steps as well. So that if we are measuring our progress and we find out that we haven't made as much progress as we want to, we can go back and we can edit that. But by tracking our progress, by tracking even the actions that we've taken, we can go back and say, okay, I tried eating this many calories a day, and I stuck with it, and I did a pretty good job. Now we're at the end of the month, and I didn't have the progress that I wanted. I have to go back and tweak something somewhere in my program. If you're keeping track of what you've done and what you wanted to do, you can say, well, I made progress according to my goals, my actions. I met my actions, and that should be celebrated. I didn't achieve the final outcome that I wanted, so maybe these weren't the right steps for me to take for this.
Yeah, and that's the right mentality to have for that, because I know personally when I've tried to obtain something and I didn't actually get to where I wanted to be, I got discouraged and I kind of lost focus. And it took me a while to be able to go back and say, well, I don't really want to give up on this. I do want to keep working towards this goal, so maybe I should think about a different way of doing this. Maybe I should think about a better way of handling this. And I think that's what you mentioned is the right way, right? It's hard when you get discouraged to keep the focus on what your actual goal is, because it's easier just to give up. But if you can focus on that, refocus on that, change the formula somehow, and then get back on track, right? Looking back at the visual and say, well, I got this far, and then I flatlined. All right, let me see what I can tweak now to be able to start making that upward path, because reality is that sometimes your goals isn't a straight line. Sometimes in order to get through the path, you have to sidestep some things, and that means adjusting. And it's easily understandable to get discouraged when it's not forward progress, right? But as long as you're not going backwards.
Well, and that's exactly that's the why it's so important to focus on what you can control and ignore the things that you can't control.
Right.
So if you're taking your goal, you've made it a SMART goal, you've broken down into actionable steps, you're working those steps, you're tracking your progress, you can go back and tweak your plan. You can celebrate your wins of the actions that you're taking. If you're in a sales competition at work and you've got a certain number of gold stars on your chart, you know that those stars didn't come because you only approached people who were willing to buy. You got to approach everyone,
right?
You got to keep trying, and the more that you try, I mean, half of this is a numbers game. Just by putting yourself out there and trying, that's getting you the possibilities of success with those gold stars, those sales, whatever that is.
Right. And you can take that same analogy and apply it to anything else in your life, right? Even if you're not a sales guy. You apply that to whatever that goal is. Well, I tried this way. it didn't succeed. That doesn't mean give up.
But that's kind of my point here, is to celebrate the success as the thing that you did. You
made the attempt.
You took action.
Okay. Not so much on the result, but I made the effort.
Refocus your effort if the effort didn't get you the result that you wanted, but celebrate the action. Taking the action is the success.
Because a lot of times, honestly, that's the big thing, right? I think I've told my children and friends, is like, even if you weren't necessarily successful, right? You had the courage and you did the action. You went forward with it and you made the attempt. And now that gets you to that point of, okay, I was able to do it. I know I can do it now, and that's a huge thing.
And incremental improvement can come from failing to achieve the result, but taking action, or taking action anyway and then failing to achieve the result, can lead to incremental improvement, because you can go back and tweak what you did. But if you never start, that's the true failure, because you can't improve on nothing. I guess doing some action is an improvement on nothing. But you can continue to take that. If you improve 1% every day, or even every year, then you're building. You're becoming better than you were, and you build on that, and it compounds over time.
And the point, I think, for that is just not to quit, don't stop, right? Because you set this goal for yourself, and if you follow the steps of the SMART acronym of defining it in that way, it should be a hopefully an achievable goal. And you can get to that point, and don't quit because it got hard or it ended up being not quite exactly what you thought it was going to be. But refocus, and whatever, if it's a visual reminder, if it's multiple different attempts, if it's reformulating how you get there, stay focused on that and know that the goal is going to be worth it because you felt it was something that you wanted to do to begin with, because it is going to benefit you. Yeah,
I agree. I think that about wraps up what I wanted to cover for episode 2 of this 3-part series.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's easy to lose focus on something that you want to have in your life, but if you didn't feel it was worthwhile to begin with, you never would have made it a goal to start off with. So stay positive, stay focused, know that things worth doing will have a little bit of effort and challenge, but focus on the end goal of itself, and don't give up and don't stop moving forward. Thank you for joining us today on WizNugs. I'm Cisco.
And I'm Casey.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us today on WizNugs. If you liked what you heard, spread the word. For more information, head over to mywiznugs.com.